What is up? What is up? What is up, everybody? My name is Brady McGrath, and as always, I am joined with Cam Garrity, and today is a momentous day. Today is the first episode of something that we want to call Fantasy Fathers. Ooh, so clean. So clean.
Yeah. For those watching us on YouTube, welcome.
Yes,
I'm going to be holding my microphone, and I'm also wearing my Stafford jersey, my second favorite team, the Detroit Lions. But I'm going to be holding the microphone, and you can also see my backdrop is not the best right now. That's because I'm in the middle of moving my setup from my room to the basement. We're getting new furniture and stuff for my brother, so we got to find stuff that actually fits. So I got to clean out the basement and everything like that. So that's where the whole hub's going to be for work and the podcast and everything else like that. But for now, I'm kind of bouncing around wherever I can to get some quiet time for work, to get some quiet time for this podcast. So I'm excited. And today is going to be our first ever fantasy football episode.
Oh, yeah.
On this. We wanted to do this for Patreon and stuff, but, we figured that we had some cooler ideas for Patreon, and I think we can, do a fantasy football podcast because we're both in some really competitive leagues, and we both, play very often. We're both champions of former leagues in the past, so we kind of know what we're talking about at times. But, as of right now, Brady, where do you stand in your fantasy before we kind of get into our topics for today?
So in the league that, that means something, in the big league that means something to me, is one of my hometown leagues. I am currently 1-2, but I also have the fourth or fifth most points scored in the league. So it's a little shaky, but this week my team put up 190 when they were only projected 140.
Wow.
And I didn't even have Julio in the lineup. So I
That's
had
something.
They gave out, the Indianapolis Colts defense handed out smoke to the Jets. That's all I gotta say on that. What about you, Cam? How are you faring?
I like it. Well, so this year I am in, the first time I've ever done this is I wanted to do something similar to the league, right? I wanted to make something where we have 10 guys, it's a lot of money, and we actually play year in, year out with the same guys. We're going to be getting a trophy, stuff for last place and everything like that. So it's a very competitive league because I found the best that I could find. Mm-hmm. However, my team this is not going to be great, but my team has shit the bed in all 3 weeks. I'm 0-3, but every single loss has been a close loss. I've been leading the whole time, and then all of a sudden somebody had, I played Gio, Brady, and literally he had the Indianapolis defense and scored 27 points on me, and that was it. And I had, I put in Marquise Valdes-Scantling because I'm like, you know what? He's going to have a good week this week, him and Lazard. And then all of a sudden, he just was shut down.
Fell apart.
And it was like he didn't get he had a point. And I was like, if just he did what he naturally did and the Bills didn't, blow a lead and have, literally give up all those points at the end of the game, I would have been fine because they ended up giving me 0 points. So I'm turning it around this week. I've had some great players actually go out. I had Cortland Sutton go out with an injury. A lot of my other players actually didn't step up the way they should be playing. So you might want to turn off the episode after hearing I'm 0-3, but it's a promising 0-3 because I am the returning champion from last year. So I started off last year 1-4. I always start off slow. Oh my God, I almost choked on my words. And I also always come back and make a run for it. So
it's always about the comeback and the
I
run.
snuck into the playoffs last year, and I shouldn't have been there, and I ended up winning the whole thing. So I snuck in. That's how, my team had to go huge the rest of the year. So I do know what I'm talking about. My specialty has to be the waiver wire, making trades, and kind of that late season roster management. That's where I'm at. Everybody always puts up flashy numbers in the beginning of the year, and I just know how to play the game. I know how to chip away at it.
That's something I had to do last year with one of my teams. Everything kind of fell apart, and I ended up trading Alvin Kamara and getting Lev Bell. And Lev Bell actually put up better stats than Kamara near the end. It didn't really help because I ended up coming last anyway. But I almost I could have made the playoffs. A few things happened one way or another, but tough to see.
Yeah, if I had to find my roster, I could show it to you. I'm sure it's somewhere in the depths I can find. And it literally projected me in a 12. It was a 12-man league too, and it projected me to come in 11th place out of 12 after the draft. And then my team, was playing awful, and then all of a sudden, like my star players, were getting hurt, and I was like 1-4. And I looked at it and I'm like, oh God, I'm going to get the punishment. I don't know what it is. And all of a sudden my team just went on a tear. I forget who I had that like really just, I want to say I had Kenyon Drake, who did have a good end of the season last year. I had Will Disley when he gave us, his early year magic, until he got injured. But that's kind of like my team last year was just like a bunch of misfits that like played 4 weeks, got injured, and then were like, nothing the rest of the year, or they got traded. Like I'm like Bill Belichick of fantasy. Like I got just enough out of them to where like now they're on my bench and that's it, and I drop them after 4 weeks. It's like, okay, it's like Rex Burkhead. You get 4 good weeks out of him a year. It just happened that all of my players did it in bunches, and once I knew the bunch was over, I was gone. I was like, nope, he's gone.
Speaking of Rex Burkhead,
yeah.
one of
oh boy.
So speaking of Rex Burkhead, one of my friends. So he on the Yahoo Fantasy app, you can see when people pick people up. Like it says, oh, they picked this person up and dropped this person. Kind of like, so you could do that. Rex Burkhead had his game, and he picked up Burkhead, and he just fell for it. He just absolutely just fell for the absolute Patriot system. He was like, yeah, I'll pick up Rex Burkhead. He had a great week. He fell for it. He picked up Rex Burkhead after he had a 4. He's never going to see that game again.
No, he'll get that in like week 15.
Yeah, exactly. Like maybe, yeah, exactly.
He'll get it in week 15. You're like, let's give it to Burkhead 50 times.
The road. Exactly, yeah. But I saw him pick it up, and I was like, oh, you fell for it. You already have Michelle on your bench. You fell for it, my man. You're in.
Michelle. Speaking of Michelle in my league, and this is the last thing before we kind of get into everything. But Michelle in my league is not even on a team. Really? So I had to scoop him up this week. I scooped him up. We'll see if it goes through tomorrow.
He should be rostered.
We'll see if
That's a fact.
He should be rostered, and it's a 10-man league. And like, what's weird about our league? So my league is our quarterbacks get some bonuses for high yardage games just to get quarterback scoring a little up, and we also have 3 wide receivers. Instead of 2. So we have 2 running backs, 3 wideouts, a flex, a tight end, defense, kicker, and everything else. So the only difference is we have 3 wideouts. So. But I still don't know why Sony's not on your team.
Yeah, I don't like that.
I give him a lot of shit for not being, Chubb or not being who he is, but, he
should be
gives you 900 yards a year.
He should be.
He's still a serviceable running back.
He's a serviceable flex. He's a good person to play as your RB1 and 2 when somebody's on a bye. Like, things like that. Like, you can't just dump him off and say, see you later, Sony.
Yeah. Yeah, so I needed Sony because for me, so I ended up I had the last pick in the draft. So I got Nick Chubb and Kenyon Drake back to back. And then I ended up trading Kenyon Drake for AJ Green straight up. Hasn't done anything for me yet. Hasn't done anything for the person yet. So I'm not like, whatever.
It's not anything crazy.
Yeah. And then I traded Terry McLaurin. I traded him for T.J. Hawkinson, and I want to say it was Benny Snell, but I already dropped Benny Snell.
I'm holding on to Scary Terry because he's gonna have his moments.
Yeah,
he's gonna pop.
No, I wanted it, but like the thing is I also had I made this trade because I had Courtland Sutton, Cooper Kupp, Terry McLaurin, and then I had who else did I have on my bench? I had Chase Claypool. So I was comfortable with my wideouts. And then Courtland Sutton went down. Then Cooper Kupp didn't play well the first game.
He needed something.
Then Terry McLaurin was like, and I was like, all right, I need to make a panic trade. I'm 0-2, so I made all those trades. And so I did that, and it's whatever. But today, for those that have waited those gracious 9 minutes, we thank you.
Yes, sir.
Today, Brady, we're going to go into the stardom and situm to start off our little episode here. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through the stardoms first. We're going to take turns going one by one. You'll read one player, I'll read one player. And then we'll get through it, and we'll all give our reasoning. Actually, you know what? We'll do it even better. You go through all 3 of yours. I'll go through all 3 of mine.
All right.
And we'll show the graphic on the stream for those watching YouTube. For those not watching, you might want to take some notes down. And these are some of the players that me and Brady think should be started this week. So, Brady, kick us off.
All right. So, to kick off my stardom situms, I am going to start with a one James Robinson on the Jacksonville Jaguars. This week,
definitely
or
nice.
last week, he posted up 30 points in my league. He posted up 30 points against the Miami defense. Of course, that's the Miami Dolphins. It's nothing too crazy. But this week against the Cincinnati defense that I feel is not very strong, it is very weak. Definitely not weak enough for the Eagles to tear them up, but I feel like James Robinson is going to have a great game against them. Gardner Minshew is going to find a way to give him the ball in the passing game also. My second stardom is going to be Juice. Jarvis Juice Landry has not broken out yet. He has not had the games that we've wanted him to have
7
yet.
points last week.
But this week against the Cowboys, a team that has allowed points to just pile up, I think that they're going to find a way to get him more involved into that passing game, especially when they're going to have to focus a lot on Odell. They're going to focus a lot on Hooper, who are getting a lot of the brunt of the push right now. I think that...
And Hooper hasn't been very efficient either, so I think it's Juice's time.
Exactly. And so I'm going to say him there. And then this is my sit-em.
Oh, boy.
But my stretch.
Those on YouTube have been reading this list since you started with James Robinson. They're ready to kill you. They want to hear your reasoning.
This is my stardom for the stretch. If you gotta play,
it's a stretch.
If you gotta play Ryan Fitzpatrick, you play him this week against the Seattle Seahawks. I'm telling you right now, you want points? He's giving you the points.
The only thing I have to say about that, I agree.
He's gonna tear them apart with 2 injuries. He's putting them in a bag. Seattle's still gonna win by 40, but Ryan Fitzpatrick will put up touchdowns.
It sounds like a stretch. Right, but for those that actually have been watching the season so far, like in depth, the Seattle Seahawks have the worst. Brady, do you want to know what the stat is? How bad their quarterback passer rating is for their secondary?
What is it?
It is worse than the 2011 New England Patriots. That is how bad this secondary is. So I'm kind of with you on this one. I don't know about Ryan Fitzpatrick as a whole, but I would go after a Devontae Parker, Preston Williams, someone like
Mike
that.
Gesicki had some targets in that Thursday night
you got to get. I would go Mike Gesicki in that situation, but those are not my stardoms this week. We are going to be going with number 1, the QB1, those that everybody in the world is not ready for. Brady, do you have any guesses?
I swear to God, if you say Gardner Minshew, my pick looks like a genius.
Gardner. Joe Burrow, ladies and gentlemen. Joe Burrow against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Last week he put up points. He didn't get the win. And it's not really his fault because he's got good options on his offense, but his offensive line is the worst in the entire NFL. I think he was sacked 7 or 8 times last game, and he got hit 22 times. He had to come out of the game. That's how hard he got hit on one of them. So I'm not as scared against Jacksonville's front 7 as I was against Philly. So I don't think he's going to have as much of a time spending on the ground, and I think the Jacksonville Jaguars are just not a good team. I think Burrow with those options are going to go off. If you have Joe Burrow on your team, it also depends on your quarterback, but for me, he is an automatic start this week. I've actually been starting Joe Burrow since week 2. He's been giving me a lot more points than Drew Brees, so I'm going with Joe Burrow on this one. For my second, this is repping the Detroit Lions. TJ Hawkinson, tight end from Detroit. They're playing New Orleans. There is no real reason besides of the fact that he has a huge upside potential, and he's been showing each week that he's becoming Matt Stafford's more bailout guy each and every time. And he hasn't had a breakout game that we're used to seeing, so I'm expecting him to go off in this game against New Orleans. Their defense is pretty good, but they're not great at covering tight ends, so I'm not too worried about putting TJ Hawkinson out there against New Orleans. I think this is going to be a good game. Do I think the Lions win this one? Probably not, but I do think you can get some fantasy value to guys like Hawkinson
they just beat Arizona
and Stafford.
They just forced some plays on Arizona. I bet they can beat the Saints.
They're not a bad team. I think they're not clicking yet. And people have to remember that we're only through 3 weeks. Normally, you have a four-week preseason where players can get warmed
Very
up,
true.
injuries can happen, teams can practice their plays. So, I'm really expecting some of these players in this league that have been slow to really step up in weeks 4 and weeks 5, right as they're starting to get warmed up. Leading into my next or my final stardom is Cooper Kupp from the Los Angeles Rams. Last week he put up 25.7 points. He had 9 receptions for 107 yards and a touchdown. He's playing a brutal New York Giants team. I think he's going to do that just again, and I think that the Rams are going to blow them out of the water this week. I think Cooper Kupp has another big game. If you have him, start him.
Yeah. I like those.
All right, Brady. Now for everybody's fun. Who are we sitting this week, Brady?
So, to go off of what you just said about that abysmal New York Giants football team, I'm going to start my sit-ems with Darius Slayton.
Jared's did him.
So, Darius Slayton in the first game, he had a lot of promise, got 6 receptions, 102 yards, kind of balled out a little bit, did what he had to do, 2 touchdowns. Like, oh my God, Darius Slayton and Danny Dimes, look at this. And then in the following games against the Bears and the 49ers, didn't really do that great. He's the number 1 receiver, but he's only had 6 receptions the past 2 games. Also, going against that Rams defense, they're going to be covering him as the number 1 receiver. So that's why I'm going to say to sit him there.
Okay.
My next sit-em is going to be T.Y. Hilton. I feel really sad that he has to catch balls from Phillip Rivers. T.Y. Hilton has accumulated 10 receptions only on the season.
Yeah. He doesn't look like the old
Yeah, he's
T.Y.
not looking like old T.Y. Rivers isn't hitting him on the deep ball. He's really not doing much to help his case. And then especially the fact they're playing the Bears, again in the same scenario as the Darius Slayton pick. You have people playing the number 1 receiver. And that Bears defense is, again, no joke, I guess, because they're 3-0. They're 3-0. Mitch got benched, and here comes Foles. Bring him in.
Bold move by Matt Nagy.
Bold move by Matt Nagy, honestly.
Bold move by Nagy to make sure that they stayed undefeated too. He saw that coming in that game. He's like, yeah, we're not losing. I want to actually win this year. Those first 2 games were a fluke. Nick Foles came in. I said it. I said Mitch Trubisky. I said this off air. I said he's going to come down to earth, and he did.
Yeah,
so,
he did. Exactly.
I'm glad they made the change now, and we're like, we like Mitch. It's like, dude, no, he's gone. Foles is your starter. Trade Mitch for like a 3rd rounder to like the New England Patriots so he can sit behind and Belichick can coach him up and make him not as bad as he is.
But now,
or actually, you know what? I'd rather get Minshew.
But now you can't play him again. Now Mitch is completely off the table. You're stuck with Foles for the rest of the year. So if Nick Foles shits the bed, you can't put Mitch back in. So that's the bold strategy they got to go with. So now,
but I don't think Nick Foles is going to shit the bed.
My third sit-em.
I think
Cam liked this one.
Jared's sit-em.
My third sit-em is any single running back on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers against the Los Angeles Chargers. The Chargers sitting at 1-2 right now.
Tom Brady might have more rushing yards than that.
The Chargers sitting right now have a great rushing defense. They have a great pass rush. I think it's going to be really tough for Tom to even get the ball out in general against this Chargers team. So I just don't think Fournette and Jones are going to go here and there. They're going to get the ball off. But I still think that Chargers defense is a lot better than 1-2.
Oh, yeah, they are.
So I think that, I would stay away from the Buccaneers running back system this week.
Okay. All right. So for my first sit-em, it's Jared sit-em on the bench. Just kidding. He's always going to be on the bench. He's awful.
Yes, he is.
Speaking of the Patriots, my first sit-em of this week is Cam Newton against the Kansas City Chiefs. For a pure fantasy style, I don't think he's going to have a great game. Do I think he's going to have a bad game? No. I just don't think he's going to put up the fantasy numbers that you need. He's not a fantasy thrower, and the only game he went off was against the Seahawks, who have, like I said, the worst secondary in the league right now. So I don't know, man. I'm just a little suspect of his quarterback play besides what he can do with his feet. He's a tremendous player. Do I think he'll, have, maybe he has a rushing touchdown at 75 yards.
He'll have some flares.
That's enough.
He can have, and he'll have some passing flares too, but I don't think this is his fantasy game.
Yeah. I just don't think this is his fantasy week. I honestly, in my opinion, I think it's going to be a very tough game for the Patriots. I think it's either going to be the Patriots win by a field goal or we get blown out by 24. So I don't I'm just kind of afraid of that in there. So if you have Cam Newton, I know he's been rolling with you, but I think it might be better to have a safer pick like a Jared Goff this week or a Joe Burrow, even a Drew Brees this week. I think something like that is a little bit more safe than a Cam Newton. Yeah. So I'm sitting Cam Newton on this one. My number 2, I am going with you, Brady, on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I am benching Ronald Jones. As much as he is an integrated part of that offense, he can catch the ball out of the backfield, he can run the ball out of the backfield. I think you're not going to get much fantasy value out of him this week. I think the Patriots are straight up just going to have to literally throw the ball down the field against the Chargers. I'm not even sure they can do that. So it's going to be a tough game. I think Tom Brady and the Buccaneers are going to have a tough time this week, especially their running back. So I'm not starting Ronald Jones against this front seven, and I don't think you should.
Exactly.
And number 3, speaking of we'll keep it in the family. The third person I'm not starting is Daniel Jones of the New York Giants because he is going to have a rude awakening this week. I do. no, Danny does.
He's the answer, though. Oh.
Yeah, he's the answer to going 0-4.
Exactly. He's the answer to tank. Yes, the answer is to tank. Yeah. Thank you. He's the question, actually.
He is going to get demolished.
Mauled.
I think I just heard a mouse in my room.
Get it.
Whatever.
With your bare hands.
Sorry, guys, for getting sidetracked. I think he's going to get demolished by, Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey and everything there. Yeah. So I just don't like it there. Brady. The next point we are going to get to, we're moving through this as quick as possible here. We're going to give your bust and your surprise. First, give us your bust of week 3, and I will give you mine.
Okay, so my bust this week was Joshua Jacobs, but that's also not on him entirely.
He was a little banged up.
Like this is going to make sense the more I say it. So he still had a fairly good game. But 71 yards rushing, it's great, 71 rushing yards in 16 attempts. That normally would be great. But Josh Jacobs is not a normal running back. He shouldn't be fumbling the ball twice. You could see it in his game. He was trying to cut. His hips weren't moving the right way, and that's what was bothering him the whole entire week. But he's a hard-nosed player, and he came into play, and sadly, it didn't really work out for him. So, sorry, buddy. You're my bust.
Yeah.
Sorry,
I would
Bill.
Say I would have him in that category. I think there is an even bigger bust in fantasy this week is Kyler Murray. I think he's been one of the better quarterbacks in the league to start the first, couple games of the season. I think the Cardinals looked on fire, and he just flat out did not look himself. He threw 3 interceptions against the Lions, who, as much as I love them, they don't have that great of a team. They should have single-handedly won that game by a couple touchdowns, and they ended up losing that game.
He should have single-handedly won that game.
Yeah, he should have single-handedly won that game, and it just, he saw some flashes of good plays in there, but, 3 picks, that's minus 6 points in fantasy, so I don't really think that he played too well, and I don't really like that this week. He was a bust. He was somebody, I had going for, almost 30 points. And he ended up, dropping a lot less than that because of the interception, so he's my bust for this week. Brady, now let's hear your surprise, your Steve surprise of the week.
So my surprise of the week, it was gonna be pretty close for me. There was 2 that I was thinking of, and they were both in the Cowboys. Yep. If it wasn't Michael Gallup, I would have said Cedric Wilson, but I'm going with Michael Gallup this week. 6 receptions, 138 yards. He had a 53-yard touchdown. He was gaining the separation he had to gain. He was playing the game great. And then also you watch him playing off the ball too. He set up a lot of plays, but fantasy-wise he balled out. Fantasy-wise, you know, that's everything. He did everything.
That's what we're
he did everything
about
you
for.
needed. You know what I mean? I had him this week too. he did everything I needed him to do. So I'm going with Michael Gallup.
Good. I am going to be going with a huge surprise for myself this week, which was something that was decimating me in fantasy myself, which was the Indianapolis defense.
Yes,
I think everybody knew that they're a solid defense. They've got some great pieces on there. They've got a great linebackers, to be honest. But they...
And DeForest Buckner.
Yeah, well, obviously. But they literally came out of the gates. I think it was they had 27 points in my league.
Yeah,
so
I had 28.
That was not expected. They went off, and it really hurt me. I mean, they put up some of the highest rated points in the entire league. For that. So they're my surprise of the week. Did I expect them to be a good defense? Yeah, but I didn't expect them to be that good this soon. So it looked like a great game for them. So they're my surprise. Brady, it is time to take a flyer. Brady, tell me, your waiver wire guy or somebody on the teetering of someone's bench, who is a player you are taking a flyer on this week, and why might he grab your spot in your flex?
So I am going to say that my take a flyer this week is going to be Joshua Kelly out of the Los Angeles Chargers. The reason that I'm throwing Kelly on there is he's been scoring consistent points. The first week he put up 12 in my league. The second week he put up 13. Last week against Carolina, they really didn't play him as much, but I do see them trying to run the ball hard-nosed against Tampa this week. They're going to try to attack. They're going to try to push down on them, while Austin Eckler will get a lot of the outside routes. I mean, a lot of the outside rushes and a lot of the outside runs. I still think Joshua Kelly could be a solid flex to play. He is getting a bunch of handoffs, though he only has one touchdown this week. I mean, you're the backup running back. He almost has 200 yards rushing. I'll take that.
Yeah, Brady, just thinking of having him, I actually ended up having him in the early weeks just because I thought so highly of him. Didn't fit my roster, but I just really like the fit he has with San Diego. Now, I know it's just for this week, but what do you view him, in the long term as a fantasy play? What do you think of that?
In a fantasy play, I do view him just looking at the Chargers schedule and looking at what they have down the line. I mean, they get past after they get past New Orleans after the Tampa game, they have the Jets, the Dolphins, the Jaguars, Vegas, who's letting up the most rushing yards. And then, then they get to their bye. I think that Joshua Kelly can be a staple flex play for big roster leagues. Like in a 10-person league, he can just make about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I like that. So before I get to my flyer, I also want to just shout out Justin Jefferson for having an amazing game. Balled out.
Such surprise.
Where I come with my pick,
my
speaking
Tennessee
of
-3 piece of garbage.
Yeah.
What a dick.
I'm gonna, before we get to the end of this episode, I'm gonna read you how one of my bets is doing at the end. So stick tuned for that too. But my flyer that I am taking this week is going to go to T. Higgins of the Cincinnati Bengals. I think he had a great game. He had 5 catches for 90 yards. Sorry, not 5 catches for 90 yards. He had 5 catches for 40 yards and had 2 touchdowns. He had an incredible game in the red zone for them. He looks to be like he is forming a relationship with Joe Burrow. I think Joe Burrow is going to have a great fantasy season. You can't forget that they have Green and Boyd and John Ross, who's now out with an injury, and they have Auden Tate out there. They have a lot of weapons there, but it looks like Joe Burrow is very comfortable with T. Higgins, somebody he ended up playing in the national championship.
That's what I was going to say. He felt bad that he beat him so much.
Yeah, he felt bad. Now he's got to
I got to give you the rock now because, he couldn't get it. Yeah. Trevor couldn't get it to you, so I will.
He's my flyer of this week, along with Sony Michel. I'm actually picking up T. Higgins. I don't know if I'm starting T. Higgins in my league just because of the way my team is, but if you're somebody who's on the fringe that needs some wide receiver production, especially with the kind of week I think Joe Burrow's going to have, T. Higgins might be their number one threat this week. So that's why he's my flyer. Take a chance on him. Maybe have him sit on your bench for a week, see what he does, and then decide to move him in the lineup then. But if you're trying to be aggressive, I would start T. Higgins this week right now as your flex and get some points there. So let's see what he can do on that. To be honest, I'm excited. I think, he's going to have another big game fantasy wise.
Yeah,
so
I can see it.
And then we're going to go to the sleepers for me and Brady. Brady, this is what it's going to be. You give me your sleeper, your number one sleeper. I'll give you my number one. We'll go down the
All right,
list.
I like that. We'll go back and
Sounds
forth,
good?
a little back and forth action. Yeah, I can get down with that. So starting at my number one, I am going to go with a former Los Angeles Charger. Broke my heart to see him go, but I was all right with it. Melvin Gordon III. Melvin Gordon against the Jets. I don't care if it's in New York. I don't care if the Jets have God on their side. Melvin Gordon.
Well, the Jets clearly don't.
Yeah, exactly. Melvin Gordon right now this season is 174 rushing yards. I see him putting up more than half of that in this game against the Jets. He's going to demolish them. He's going to be a great fantasy play. If people aren't playing him,
Jets, my man.
A lot of people are saying he's a reach, but I'm saying you should play him. Get him on the field. Let him dominate. He's going to hurt those poor people. Sorry, Jets fans.
Another guy I like on the Broncos. He's not on my sleepers, but he is on my bench. Is KJ Hamler after Cortland Sutton went down. So I really like him. Penn State guy.
Yes,
The next, my sleeper for this week, and this isn't really a sleeper for the reason you would think it's a sleeper, but Sony Michel is my number one sleeper for the sole fact that a lot of people are expecting the Patriots to get blown out. A lot of people are expecting Sony Michel to not repeat what he did this week. I think he goes off and he has a big week. I think the only chance the Patriots can win this game is if Sony Michel and that offensive line have a good game against the Chiefs front seven. I think you can run the ball all over the Kansas City Chiefs. I don't think they have a very strong, run defense there. So I would really like to see him go off. The same reason, though, is why I'm not starting Cam Newton, as we talked about it earlier, just because I don't think Cam Newton's going to go off for 150 yards. I think Cam could easily have a red zone touchdown for sure, but I just don't think he's going to have a good fantasy time. I do think Sony Michel is going to have another good fantasy week. I think he really needs to step up this year and have over 1,000 yards rushing to really cement to the Patriots that, look, I'm good. I'm here to be the number one guy. Give me the volume. Stop handing the ball to Burkhead. Stop handing it, to James White, to Damian Harris when he gets back. He needs to prove to the Patriots that straight up, I'm working on my catching abilities. I will be that guy to play all downs for you. So I really like him this week.
Also, another thing, he had 120 yards on 9 carries. That's massive. That is a volume.
Yeah, and he also had a couple of catches, and which people don't think that's huge, but outside of New England, people are like, okay, what? He literally is the most predictable player in the entire league. I think it's something where when he was on the field last year, the Patriots ran the ball like 90% of the time. It was something insane. They
have to integrate him into the pass game, and if they do, that can open up a lot of doors.
They have to start, because if he wants to play all 4 downs, he needs to be able to pass block, to catch some check downs from Cam Newton.
And
he has to be able to do
good
that.
Blocks,
so
too. He
was
on that big 2nd and 8 run that Cam Newton had. He had a really great block on the linebacker blitzing in.
He did. All right, Brady, let's hear your number 2 sleeper. Let's get through
my number
these.
2 sleeper, I have David Johnson of the Houston Texans. After that Thursday night game where he started against the Chiefs, he came out to be an early comeback player of the year favorite for me. And since then, he kind of quieted down against the Steelers and the Ravens, but that was the Steelers and the Ravens. I think this week against the 0-3 Vikings, David Johnson is going to have a good game. He's going to be able to go out there. He's going to be able to do what he does. He might even get a couple receptions. Again, he's not going to be the David Johnson of old, but he can still produce, and that's what this Texans team needs the most, production out of their running backs, and I'm putting my faith in him.
Awesome. So for me, for number 2, I'm going with Noah Fant, tight end for the Broncos, going against the Jets this week. I think he's bound to have a monster game. Like you said, the Jets need Jesus, and that Jesus is literally Trevor Lawrence. He's got the hair of him, and I think the Jets are tanking, honestly. The way they're playing and how bad they're coached, I really don't think that this is how bad they were going to be.
I just think it's Adam Gase.
I think it is, but I also think they looked at, teams like Washington and Jacksonville who were actually winning some games early on, and the Jets were like, now's our chance. Let's go down 0-4, and then nobody can catch us. So they're going. It's tanking for Trevor Lawrence, and I think the Jets are going to end up grabbing him. So, but I have Noah Fant in this game. I think he's going to be a big target for him.
I like that. So my number 3 sleeper of the week is going to be Mike Williams for the Los Angeles Chargers. Again, they're going to be playing Tampa Bay. Tampa's going to be focusing a lot on Keenan Allen, a lot on Hunter Henry, a lot on Austin Eckler, and he's been very quiet, mostly because he's been a little hurt. He's been a little banged up. He only has 7 receptions on the season. I feel that if he comes back healthy in this game, that he can have a big impact on that wide receiving core. Justin Herbert wants to throw the ball, and that's clear, as you saw from the last few games.
Got a rocket arm.
He's fantastic. I love him so much. Thank God Phillip Rivers is gone. I hate you, Phillip Rivers. But yeah,
take you and your 15 kids out
literally,
of here.
Like, you're a horrible stepdad in Indy right now. It's bad. So yeah, I'm saying Mike Williams is my number 3 sleeper.
Okay. Number 3, I'm going with Austin Hooper. I think that this is going to be a scary game, to be honest. I think the Cowboys are probably the best losing team right now because of Dak Prescott. But I'm going with Austin Hooper because the Browns are going to need a big game out of him if they want to beat the Cowboys. They're going to have to put up points. The Cowboys' defense is not that good. So I think he could torch them. I think
2-1 Browns.
Get back to how he was in Atlanta.
2-1.
2-1 Browns. And I think they can move to 3-1
in this game.
And I think Austin Hooper has a good game. So if you're looking to, have a flex, if Austin Hooper's been on your bench for a couple weeks, I would put him in your flex this week.
Could be a good flex
if I was you.
I agree with that. My number 4 as a sleeper, it's kind of like my number 4 sleeper is kind of iffy because he might not be a sleeper in a lot of leagues, but I think a lot of people are just sleeping on him in general because of the team that he's on. I'm going to go with Miles Sanders out of the Philadelphia Eagles. He missed week 1 with a hamstring injury and then came out and posted 95 rushing yards in the next 2 games. That's big. He, another Penn State guy, what do you know? They're pretty good at football.
Pretty good.
He came out, he's getting the brunt of the carries. He's doing everything. He's around the passing game. I mean, I would 100% start him as your flex if he's not going to be one of your starting running backs. I'm putting him at a sleeper this week. I feel like the Eagles are just bound to do something, especially against this 49ers team that's absolutely shattered right now. They're not even sure if their offense is going to play, so they can take a lot. They're going to take a lot of advantage of running the ball in that team. So that's why I'm going to throw Miles Sanders in that little sleeper spot.
Awesome. That's great. My sleeper spot, who I think I was very high on him in the NFL draft this year, and that is wide receiver Laviska Shenault from the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think he has been playing pretty well for the role that he has in Jacksonville, and I think you're going up against a very suspect Bengals defense. I think Laviska could have a big game with Gardner Minshew throwing him the ball. Gardner looks to be on a mission this year to prove to the Jaguars, look, whatever pick you get doesn't mean you need to draft Trevor Lawrence. Maybe you need to trade back, whatever. We need some help on defense, whatever it is. Gardner Minshew looks like he wants to buy in, and if I'm the Jaguars, stop trading the guys you draft after a couple years, right? You've gotten rid of so many players that you've drafted that have just gone to other teams, and, it's just not worked out. You've gotten rid of Jalen Ramsey, Calais Campbell, Leonard Fournette. Who else am I forgetting that they've gotten rid of recently? You get the point. Basically, stop getting rid of those guys, please, and show that Gardner Minshew is the guy. So that's a side note.
Gardner Minshew is
for the NFL draft. We'll be doing some mock drafts and stuff. You'll see him soon.
Hot garbage. 6-12 as an NFL starter, and people act.
Who's garbage?
Gardner Minshew.
I don't want to hear that.
Garbage. He's 6-12.
Watch him play. You watch him play
as an NFL starter, and people rant and rave about
him for the Jaguars.
Yeah, that doesn't matter because if he's going down for the game,
look at Matt. Look at Matt Ryan, how many losing seasons he's had. Look at Matthew Stafford, how many losing seasons he's had.
But let me at least say this. He is so predictable as a bad quarterback that I was watching that game on Thursday night. I bet the over, right? And they're driving down, and one of my friends goes, "Oh, Brady, you can hit the over." And I said, "Nope, that's not going to happen because Gardner Minshew is going to throw behind his receiver, and it's going to be an easy pick." He could have thrown a streak up to Keelan Cole, but what he does is he tries to throw a comeback route and the ball gets picked off when you're in the red zone. That's how he loses all of his games. He's a bum.
You know what? When Laviska goes off for 100 yards and 2 TDs, when Laviska goes off for 100 yards and two TDs, and Minshew has 4 this week, you're going to be apologizing on the next
episode.
All
right, fine. If Laviska Shenault has 2 touchdowns and Gardner Minshew throws 4 touchdowns, then I'll be like, all right, whatever. But if they lose the game because
you'll have to.
But then when they lose the game when he throws a dog shit pick, then yes, you will apologize to me. When the Bengals get their first win of the season because he's a bad quarterback, I expect an apology.
How about this? We'll make a little jersey wager. All right, if Minshew throws for 4 touchdowns, right, and no picks, you have to buy a Gardner Minshew jersey.
4 touchdowns, no picks. Okay.
Yep. And if Gardner Minshew throws a pick, doesn't matter how many touchdowns, or more, 2 picks. Doesn't matter how many touchdowns. He could have 1 touchdown and 2 picks, 2 and 2, 3 and 2, 4 and 2, whatever. I will buy a jersey of any player that you want. I'll buy a Jets jersey. I don't even care.
You want to know whose jersey you buy?
Yeah, let's hear it.
You buy the jersey of the person that picked him off.
Who they play? The Bengals?
Play the Bengals.
All right. I'm a betting man. You heard it here first, guys.
We're doing it. We're pulling it. We'll do it.
All right, let's hear your number 5. Let's get into this. We got that jersey wager.
All right, so
I'm down for
this is
it.
going to be unreal. This is perfect.
Either way, one of us is having another jersey to our collection.
Exactly. So my number 5, sleeper, and this is not even as well. It's a sleeper because they're a defense, but you keep that Colts defense on your damn roster for a long time because you just look at what they're up against in the next few weeks. This is just going to be forever thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're going to be playing against
and you want to know a
Bears
side note about fantasy, which
Cleveland, Cincinnati,
some people should do?
Detroit, and then they hit a little snag with Baltimore, but still, they're going to get turnovers. They're going to get you points. They're going to get you sacks. Yeah. They're around.
Do you want to know what I'm thinking with – this is a fantasy note. Before I get to my 5th and final, if you're in a fantasy league, not this year but next year, please – I am calling for fantasy people to come together to increase bench spots. I hate not being able to carry a second kicker and a second defense because you literally have to drop a nasty defense when they're on their bye if you want to start another one. And it's like if you have the best defense in the entire league and you drop them, right? Let's say right now, I think it's Indy is the highest scoring defense in the league. But let's say you have Indy, right? And then they're on their bye week. You now have to drop them and pick up like the Raiders, and now you're stuck with the Raiders the rest of the season. Because I know the guys in my league are assholes. They're 100% going to be like, oh yeah, I don't fucking care about my backup running back. I'll pick up your defense so you can't have it.
My
league, petitioning for that.
My hometown league, we added 2 COVID spots. That's what we called it. We added 2 extra bench spots. COVID spots.
Yeah, we didn't. Yeah, we have 7 bench and we have an extra wide out, so we have even less room for error on there. So my last sleeper, and this is somebody who I have been very, very, very high on in fantasy. Very, very high on. I drafted him. I actually didn't draft him. He went undrafted because I was in the last round, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna get my kicker or. I'm gonna get my backup, whoever that I know is gonna be, is gonna be taken. I knew he would still be here. Is Chase Claypool from the Pittsburgh Steelers? He has looked incredible on the balls that he is thrown to when he's out there. It looks like Pittsburgh has found a diamond in the rough. So if I am you, I would I would pick him up on waivers and I would stash him on the edge of your bench until he starts getting some playing time because I think as the Steelers progress through the season, I think even week 4, week 5, I think Chase Claypool is going to have have a breakout game. I think they want to get him up to speed to NFL games. That's why they're not using him as much. But they're high on this kid out of Notre Dame. He's a big threat, and the Steelers have proven time and time again they know how to draft wideouts. So I'm excited to see him play, and that's why he's my sleeper this week, because I think he could actually go off for a big game this week against the freaking – where did they play in this week? Oh, Titans. Yes, that's who – I was just thinking about the freaking COVID. I was like, are they playing Vikings? And then I forgot. Vikings are not playing that. They're playing the Titans, the COVID team. So either there's a forfeit, which won't happen, but could happen. I think Chase Claypool could have a good game against that secondary. They got a good secondary there, but I definitely think that you could see a good game from Chase Claypool.
There's going to be a lot of focus on Juju after last week, and then and
James Chase Claypool is going to be make sure that they're 6 feet apart.
Then Deontay Johnson kind of balled out too. So Chase Claypool can.
He did.
Chase Claypool can.
He
find
did.
a way.
I think they could have a good game. I think they want to. You could see the end arounds are doing. They want to get him involved in the offense. So that's my sleeper. And Brady, really, I mean, there's a lot of players we can put on this list, but I'm excited for Week 4. But I do want to get to my bet that I have. Going on, it's not doing too well, but so for those that know, I'm actually, as I'm doing this, I'm literally trying to sign into.
It's not doing too well.
Yeah, I'm trying to sign into my DraftKings real quick. Hold on, my DraftKings Sportsbook.
DraftKings.
Yeah, you got to be in New Hampshire to place bets. So good thing I go to New Hampshire every week. We're able to do that. So. Let's go to my bets. All right, guys. You ready for this parlay? I actually had a good week this week, but this parlay I put in the beginning of the season, Brady. This is what I did. An 8-team parlay. You want to hear the odds?
Let's hear it.
Plus 31,580.
Jesus Christ.
So a $27 wager would win me $8,553.78. I put in $27 because I was left after I was like doing other bets, and I was like, "Fuck it,
screw it, put it together, throw it in."
Yeah, I was kind of hammered when I made this. So the parlay is an 8-team divisional winner parlay, basically trying to predict every divisional winner. So the NFC West, the 49ers. The NFC South, the Buccaneers.
Okay.
The Minnesota Vikings for the North. The Eagles for the East. The Chiefs for the West. The Titans for the South. The Ravens for the North.
Okay, yeah. I still think the Steelers are going to win
and the Patriots for the AFC East.
Of course.
So the only thing, and the thing is I was looking at this, right? Philly could have an incredible turnaround.
Yeah, they could flip.
Still win that division because their entire division is losing.
And everybody on the team is hurt. So everybody that's calling for Carson Wentz's head in a stick needs to chill out. They have no
the only team that I could
their offensive line
49ers could still win that division. When 49ers could still somehow win their division.
I don't know. Now when Mr. Unlimited wants to be MVP.
Yeah, but they could still win though. It's what I'm saying. They have like a fairly easy schedule to where they could, steal some games late in the year.
Mr. Unlimited makes every game easy.
Yeah, but the Vikings are what's screwing me over because I don't think anybody predicted the Vikings to be 0-3 and the Bears and Packers both 3-0. And the Lions 1-2. I completely
called the Packers. I knew Aaron Rodgers was on a revenge tour.
I'm saying nobody called it for the fact that both teams would be 3-0.
Yeah, nobody was calling that.
I understand the Packers have the ability to go off like that. But the Bears, I thought didn't think they were going to be bad, but I didn't think they were going to be 3-0. And I definitely didn't think the Vikings were going to be 0-3 to start. Unless Kirk Cousins has some type of miracle where he could bring this team to be 13-3, I have no clue if that's ever going to win. So I actually ended up changing my bet from the Packers to the Vikings last minute. You know why I did that? Better odds. So you get more money.
Better odds. Shut up.
I was very hammered. I was very hammered on that last pick, and I was like,
we'll take it. Why not?
Yeah, because that's my thing is I always second guess myself. So it's like if I would say, oh yeah, no, it's the Packers, no doubt, and then I'm like, but the Vikings. Then I'm like, no, it's the Packers. And I'm going back and forth, and I'm sitting there, and I'm like, but what if the Vikings win it, and I lose because I second-guessed myself on the Vikings?
Now you triple-guess yourself, and now you're fucked.
And then, I basically have one guess for every chin I have.
Yeah, now you're done. You need one more guess.
So I got I got one more guess.
One more guess.
But hey, I did win some money last week. I had we're gonna read this. I know it's not a betting one, but we're gonna see what I won this past week. So I took the money line on the Lions. Mm-hmm. I ended up winning that one. I took the money line on the Buccaneers.
Yep.
That was an easy one to take. And then I did a 2-team parlay with the Browns covering the spread and the under 43.5 points for the Panthers and Chargers.
I like that.
So, won me about $220 there. So I was up some money. I put in about 100.
I will say I'm on a little bit of a hot side. This week 3 wasn't that good for me, but so far through the 3 weeks of football in bets, I'm going 14, 9, and 5. I have 5 pushes, so that means I'm right there. So those pushes could have went any way.
You know what this means?
Mean?
I think it's time to announce that we're also going to be doing a betting show.
Oh, yeah, of course we are. Of course we are. Are you
stay
crazy?
Tuned for that.
You think that wasn't going to happen?
Stay tuned for that. Side note, once New Hampshire's over, I think I might have to switch from DraftKings Sportsbook back to our old friend.
Bada. We're going to get sponsored by Bovada.
I know. All right, so we're gonna end this episode here. Thanks for those that are listening on Spotify and everywhere else.
Sir.
We hope you guys have a good week in fantasy. Be sure to tweet at us your lineups this week. After the game, we're gonna try this new tradition before the next episode. If on Monday or Tuesday morning, if you guys can tweet us, at 40dads podcast, or you can actually email us at 40yarddads@gmail.com. Please email us your scores, because whoever got demolished the most, we're going to be trying to give some type of giveaway, something small but something cool for whoever destroyed their opponent the most. So
but also,
send those in for a chance for that.
But if you came out and you posted your lineup and your lineup played bad, we still want that. Because if you're confident enough to post your lineup on the internet, then you should be confident enough to post your lineup only scoring 80 points. You heard it here.
So
I'm calling you out.
If you guys do that, that would be cool, because I don't know what we're gonna do for giveaway. We might do maybe some stickers, maybe a hat, maybe I don't know, something.
My beard hair.
I don't know about that. Maybe next week.
Yeah, that's next week.
But yeah, we'll do something cool with that, where we'll do some type of giveaway based on whoever had the biggest margin. I'm talking margin. I'm not just talking you put up 190. Like if the other guy put up 170, it doesn't count. It's got to be like a thrashing. I would have won this. I want to see.
I won 190 to 123.
So be sure to email us that, post us on Twitter, send it on Instagram, whatever you want to do. We want to see some involvement. This has been the Fathers of Fantasy Fathers here. From 40 Yard Dads. Don't forget to actually check out our main podcast. If this is the first time you've been looking for anything fantasy, we appreciate you coming this far. Take a stab at it and go check out our podcast. We are live every Thursday with our podcast and our Patreon, and our YouTube videos go out a couple days after on YouTube of us recording it, and the podcast is usually up Thursday night. So we appreciate it, and we will see and talk to you guys on the next episode. See ya.
Later.